Hi, my name is Lily Glamkin, and welcome to the first episode of Breaking the System. So, a little bit about myself. I am 19 years old. I graduated high school at 15, and I skipped 2 grades on the way to graduation. So I skipped 8th grade and I skipped 12th grade. So essentially what ended up happening was when I was getting ready to go from 7th to 8th grade, high school contacted me with the ability to skip the 8th grade, and at the time I was like, oh yeah, this sounds great, let's do it. And then I got there and I was like, this was awful, I want to go back. But I just stuck with it and I couldn't really return, so I ended up skipping the 8th grade, going straight to 9th grade. 9th grade was horrible. Then I did 10th and then 11th. And after 11th, I was like, I'm done with high school. Let's get out. Let's do it. I didn't want to do that either. But my mom was like, listen, it'll be better if you just graduate early. So we graduated early and I was free. And I was like, how awesome. And then college hit me in the face like a full bus. And I was like, all of you people lied to me. So I'm here to tell you the truth so you can be ready and prepared about how college really is. This is going to be set up in sectors. I'm going to do these episodes in the order of how I fight the system. So the first system that I ended up fighting in the first place was the educational system, because it is so warped and so messed up, and they really force you to they just force you to stay behind in terms of your education when you really need to be striving forward for success, for information, for knowledge that you will not obtain in a public school system. And that's the first thing that I learned when I got to college, is that when you go to school in the public school system, when you get to college, all the information that you need to learn in high school, middle school, elementary school, you did not learn, and you won't have that foundational knowledge that you'll need when you're in college. So that's the first thing that I'm going to talk to you guys about. The second thing I'm going to talk to you guys about is fighting the system when in regards to money or anything like that. And I feel like that's something people don't really know about. How do we fight banks? How do we really hold on to our wealth ourselves? And that's something that as I go through it and learn, I'm going to give my advice as a young person growing in this kind of world that we have today, to you all. And I think even for that section, I'm going to interview people and see how they kind of fought the system themselves. When it comes to jobs or anything like that, I'll also get information for you guys and things like that. Those little niche jobs that people are like, how do I do this kind of job? You don't really know about it until someone's doing it and you've never heard of it. But it's something that you can make money doing and find a career that you're happy in. So those kind of things I feel like people really need to know about, and that's what I'm going to try and touch on. I'm also going to end up touching on racial issues, probably some socio-political issues that haven't been dealt with correctly. And of course, since being a woman of color, I gotta cover all those topics too. The hair thing is one of them. Anyway, so of course in skincare and all that other stuff. So besides practical knowledge, you're going to get the etiquette knowledge too. So yeah, as I was saying about myself, I kind of wanted to start this first episode out with credentials. Not that I have any, but I'm going to try. That was a really bad face. I'm sorry. Apologies. So, first credentials. Which other thing? Okay, so I graduated at 15, right? I went to college immediately after that. My first semester at college wasn't that hard. I went to a community college. I didn't stay at a community college. I went to a community college. It went pretty well my first semester. I took it easy. Then I went to a university because I applied kind of late. I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't know that I would be graduating early or anything like that. So we didn't apply to any colleges out of state. Actually, no, I did. Sorry. Yeah, I did. I got accepted into one. And then I turned it down because I couldn't afford it. So Nobody knows about that. I didn't even keep the letter. So, yeah, that was pretty much all of that. I ended up going to a local university here in South Florida, and it's awful. And some more about that as we get to it. What else? I kind of had some rough moments in life in general, and going through it, I figured out how to overcome it so that it wouldn't be a hindrance in the future. Because a lot of times that you have these big hurdles that people place in front of you sometimes, and you don't know how to get through it. And that's what I learned to overcome, is like, hey, I see you trying to make trouble for me. I'm going to go around you, circumvent this whole problem that you've created, and figure out how to solve it myself. So that's what I'm going to attempt to do. Yeah. What else about me? I am almost done with my associate's degree in biology. If I just, pass this one math class that I've been trying to take for 2 semesters. Yeah, I am almost done with my bachelor's degree. I have about 1.5 years left, supposedly, in neuroscience. And I absolutely love neuroscience, except that at my university it's not like they're teaching it. So I don't know what I've learned. Aside from that, it's really more like a major in biology than anything else, in chemistry, and it feels like everything else except neuroscience. So we'll see what happens. I want to do research on, how do I explain it? I want to do research on how we store memories, and I understand that it's not actually like a true memory, but more of a perception of the memory that we receive from our sensory organs. So that's what I want to really do research on, and where we keep that in the mind, or what is functioning when we're recording memories, because we do that all the time. So that would be interesting to kind of look forward to a study on, kind of thing, because I feel like this is something that we should have covered. This is like something that we should know by now in this day and age, and we're not there yet, and I'm very disappointed in the generations before me for not being there yet. So I'm going to break the glass ceiling and try to get there. Wish me luck. What else? I think that's about it, besides telling you about my family. And yeah, so let's get started with the first episode. So I'm gonna start with, the first thing was probably, I'm just gonna start with my background in education. So in elementary school, for a time I went to school in Trinidad and Tobago, which is an island, 2 islands, off the coast of Brazil, or South America if you want to be specific. So I went to school in Trinidad for, I want to say, about 1 year, and then I came back to the United States, and it was a major culture shock. Everything was different. The people weren't even friendly. This one girl had a huge problem with me, and I couldn't understand why. I had an accent, and it was just overall much more, I don't even know, it was just odd. It was different for me, and I really missed Trinidad, and I wanted to go back, but at the same time I was like, okay, my mom is here, let's just stay here and see how it goes. So after getting used to the culture shock, after like 1 year or 2, in terms of things changing, it really didn't dwindle down. Within my second year, not second year, it was more, I was still in elementary school, so let me see. I came back and went to Chancellor, and then what happened? I think 2 years before that, I was still here, and I had my first racist teacher. Yeah, that was crazy, because I didn't know what was happening, and she did not like me. She was giving me D's and F's for no reason, and I was like, what's going on? And my mom realized it, and we switched out of my class, and I didn't know why exactly. I just know she didn't like me, but I didn't know she didn't like me because I was black. So that was a shock. And then the other teacher was kind of tiptoeing around me as a student in her class because of the fact that I switched into her class after experiencing racism at her school. So that was a weird topic, which is something you have to deal with. So in elementary school, when you're just meeting your kid's teacher for the first time, notice everything, get to know that teacher immediately, because this person is spending the most time with your child. So you have to understand that they're going to influence your child, they're going to make your child feel any kind of way that they want. In terms of molding, your teacher will be doing most of that. So you want to know that this person is a capable person, is going to just do right by your kid, So you don't want somebody that's going to hurt your kid's self-esteem. That's really important at that age. So interview the teacher. You have a right to switch your child into any other class you want. They can't tell you otherwise. You can make the best decision for your child, even if that means you have to pull your kid out of school and switch them to another school. You can do that. As a parent, you can do that. They cannot tell you that you cannot do that. And if they do tell you that you cannot do that, go to your local school district and you find somebody to speak to that you can get everything worked out with, and they'll make the changes for you. Because that's what they'll do. Yes, but you need to have like a sit-down interview with your teacher that is going to be leading your child for most of the year, and make sure that that person is right for your kid. That's what I would suggest, because that's essentially what my mom did. And I'm glad she did that, because I would have been stuck with a teacher who didn't care about me, was cruel to me for like the first year of elementary school, and I didn't even understand why. That's important. So you have to make sure that this person cares about the interests of your child. Yeah. That's big key, because I did not understand. Coming from Trinidad, coming back to the U.S., race was not an issue in my head. I was like, what's going on? In Trinidad, everybody is mixed. I can tell whether this girl was black or if she was Indian or what she was. I was just like, it doesn't matter. I like you, you like me, we're friends. Let's do this, Race wasn't an issue. Religion wasn't an issue. Nothing really mattered as long as you were nice to each other, But then again, a lot of Indians in Trinidad were like Buddhists, so karma was a big thing. It's like, you better be nice, otherwise, when it comes to bite you in the butt, don't ask why. Yeah, so that was the first thing in elementary school. The second thing is reading to your child. So the first thing that I came back and had a problem with is the language. And even though I spoke English, there was a language barrier because I had such a strong accent, and people were like, what is she saying? Oh my god, I can't understand you. I'm speaking English. Are you? But you have an accent. Let me tell you something. Trinidadians speak English, okay? They have an accent that makes it sound nicer. There's a little bit of a twang, but it's English. It's not like Jamaican patois, okay? It's not a new language completely. It is English. Patois is also like a form of English, but it's more slang mixed in. No. We speak English. You can understand us. I know that because I came from America to Trinidad and back to America. So, what? Anyway, aside from that, people were really annoying that first couple of years when I moved back to America, because everything was like, what is she saying to me? How is she reading it? I don't know if she's doing too well on this topic, blah, 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 blah. So, one of the things my mom did is she immediately started taking us to the library so that we could read more. We could get on track with what they considered to be on par with the rest of the people in our age group. And we got there by the end of the year. Let me tell you something. My mom was on top of it. Every day we went to the library, we picked out like 4 or 5 books, and she would have us read it. At first I didn't like it, and then it really started catching on. So I think the first book series that I read that had me hooked. My sister actually introduced me to it. She's like, Lily, you should read this book. It's called The Magic Treehouse. And I was kind of reluctant because I was like, this looks kind of lame. And I was like, and every other page has pictures that, Ellie, no. But I picked it up and I read it and I was like, oh, this is good. And I kept reading it. And then I got addicted to that series. And the great thing about The Magic Treehouse is there's like 50 books in that one series. So I read like all 25 and then I realized, hey, they carried on. And then there were 50 and 75 and then another 80. And so there are a lot of books to read in that series. And I just kept going. And that's what drove my love of reading, is because there was a series that I started off with that I really loved, and I just was able to continue. My sister ended up getting into the Boxcar Children and Little House on the Prairie and stuff like that, and I kind of graduated from Magic Treehouse to every other series, like Gregor the Overlander series, or just the Overlander series. I graduated to poetry, which was like a big thing for me that helped my growth in reading. I graduated to like a lot of fantasy novels and stuff like that, and sci-fi, and just basically girly things that I found interesting. And yeah, that really helped my reading level to become something that I loved. But it has to start with the first book that you read, and it really depends on how good the book is. If it's a series, I recommend you start your kids off on reading a series that they'll end up loving, maybe like a small series. So there are little fairy novels that come in like a small series. So it started with like the primary colored fairies. So they have like a red fairy, a yellow fairy, a blue fairy, stuff like that. And as you continue, they had like a sky fairy, an indigo fairy, a ruby fairy, an emerald fairy kind of thing. And like those kinds of books that keep going, you can start your kid off on reading and they will stick with it, because this series they're going to fall in love with this series, and from there they can branch out. So that's what I recommend to parents to get their kids to start reading. Another thing with elementary school is math and science. Oh my goodness, a must. You have to inculcate them in that, like, really young. You have to start them with a love for math and science young, and don't go by whatever the educational system is trying to teach them right now. Okay, when they start trying to teach you math and you're like, that's not how I learned math like 20 years ago. Yeah. Well, listen, it's complicated. It's stupid. Don't even forget it. Forget it. Okay? Teach them the old-fashioned basic way of doing math, because that's the easiest way. That's the way that it really sticks with you. And when they get older, they're not going to look at it cross-eyed, because you are going to need math like you don't know what. I need math like I don't know what. And I hate it. I can't stand it. The very sight of it makes my brain just go haywire. So you really want to start them on math early. Like, start counting with them really early and start testing their multiplication skills. That was the hardest thing ever. For some reason, I could not wrap my mind around the concept that 1 times 0 equals 0. What? 1 times another number equals 0? Nothing? Nothing? Are you sure? 0 times any number equals nothing, but I didn't understand that. I was like, I get it. 1 times 1 equals a number. So 1 times another number. So 2 times 1 equals 2. So whatever is multiplied by 1 would equal that number. But why would 1 times 0 equal 0? And then it was like, oh, well, 1 times the number 0 would equal 0. But then 0 multiplied by anything else would equal 0. And I was like, I'm gonna tell you, I was so confused. So start them on math early, because they will need it. Start them on trying to read a clock, because they will need it. I was crying the first time they told me to read a clock. It was a nightmare. Yeah. And they were like, you're such a bright kid, why don't you get this? No. You're telling me that this time on the clock is what it says it is? I don't get it. And the numbers are so small. It was bad. So, start early. Science. You can build their love for science just in biology. So teach them about flowers. Go outside and say, pick a leaf off the tree, and then we're going to talk about this leaf. And then you can do a diagram about the leaf and stuff like that. science is fun, so keep making it fun. This is my concept of science. If it happens in everyday life, you should be able to explain it. It's that simple. So just go outside, find something to look at, find something that they're interested in, whether that be a rock, or the waves of the ocean, or the sky, or they're looking at a cloud today. Like, find a way to teach them about that, and that'll be like an extracurricular lesson outside of school kind of thing, and get them involved in extracurriculars. I fully believe that children should have something that they feel dedicated to, that they are best at, so help them find what they are best at a young age. Otherwise, I feel like when they grow up, they're kind of lost. They're like, what am I good at? I need to find what I'm good at. A lot of these things are supposed to be found when they're young, so help them do that, and help them make friends by branching out and doing extracurriculars outside of school. They make more friends, they learn how to interact and stuff like that, and all of that stuff is super important in building a great adult for the future. So I think that's it for the first episode of Breaking the System. Some stuff to think on, and when I get back, I'm going to expand on more. What else? Oh, on Tuesdays I will be making these videos. Other than that, I don't think I'll be doing much more, and I'm gonna try to keep them under 20 some minutes, because it's already been 21, almost going on 30, and that's like really too long. So thank you guys for watching, if you did watch, and have a great day. This is the first video on a channel that I'll probably never use again. God knows if I'm even going to post this. Yeah.